Hi guys, welcome back. New camera today. It's actually an old camera, an old phone that I got fixed. It's the OnePlus 5, which I think always did better quality videoing than the er5, which is what I switched to. So I got the old phone fixed, because what happened was it fell off the stand exactly like this, and it cracked, so it's probably going to do that again. But yeah, so basically the new battery has arrived. New battery's there. I fully expect to put the battery in and have this thing start. I almost have no doubt. Then it's just about throwing some air in the tires and then testing it, making sure the brakes are all good and so on. Cleaning the brakes, changing the brake fluid, checking the pads, and ideally taking it for an MOT tomorrow. That could be this today. The er5 is very close. I've got the Seal Buddy, which I bought, and honestly, it's extremely disappointing. It actually is milk carton with Seal Buddy written on it. So use the milk carton, do what Nat did, save yourself £7. But obviously having it just kind of accessible will sort out any seals I get and give them a bit of a clean. I might even do these ones. So I'm going to check the oil again, because we were having kind of oil issues, weren't we? I'm going to fire this thing up, warm it up, throw some air in the tyres, and then actually drive it. Make sure it selects gear, make sure it's not stuck, the clutch is stuck and engaged. That happens sometimes. That happened with the CG not long ago. So when you pulled the clutch in and pressed into gear, it was already engaged because the clutch was stuck together. And I had to pop the clutch off and release all the plates separately myself. Top up the cooling system. I feel like I did that already. I will double check. I bought some nice new coolant earlier, some concentrated stuff. If that's the case, I'm going to drive it down to my jet wash, give it a good jet wash all over, and then come back and then we'll look at the bases, cleaning a bit of rust off the exhaust. And I got some new high temperature paint that I will just use to clean up the exhaust a little bit and give it a touch more protection. So I'm not going to film it, but I'm going to swap the batteries over and then I'll film the first startup. Don't get me wrong, the bike may not start up. The new battery might not be any more powerful than the old. There could be all sorts of problems. I'm just expecting it to start up and hoping it will. Let me know what you think of this picture quality. I feel like on the screen it's already much better, but I know the quality on the UI got quite bad towards the end, so hopefully this is a nice fresh start. Okay, so I haven't touched it at all. It's stone cold, but the new battery's in. Let's see, I'll check the oil quickly and then let's see how we look. So I actually don't know what's happening there. Watch, press the button and it doesn't want to do anything. Yeah, I mean, I know it fired not that long ago, so I need to look into that. I wonder if... I don't know. I wonder if I push it and bump it, if that will kind of loosen it all up. But saying that, we had it started. That is the right battery. So it should... Oh look, now it's not even... what I'll have to try is hooking up my Bandit battery in case this new battery has come and needs boosting. The battery is used for starting blah blah blah. User must recharge it before installing and using. Okay. So it says if it's been sitting longer than 3 months, which we don't know how long it's been sitting, it should be charged. I'm going to connect my, I'm going to hook my Bandit up to it, see if that changes what it does. If that does change what it does, then we do know it just needs charging. Otherwise there's something more sinister going on. Let me hook up my Bandit battery. So Bandit battery's hooked up, let's see if it fires. If it fires, I'm going to pop it straight back out, put some air in the tyres, chuck that on charge. It will only take an hour or two and get that kind of process going straight away. Nope, even with the Bandit battery hooked, it isn't doing anything. I now need to check the fuses, make sure I didn't blow them out by putting extra pressure on the system, and see what's going on there, because at the moment it does turn on, look, but nothing at all on the button. And we know that the clutch switch is gone and is safely tucked away. I have no concerns about that at all. And I know it was trying to turn over, but it just wasn't. I also know the side stand switch has been, I think it's this one here, that's been done at some point, so that shouldn't be an issue either. This is going to be an issue somewhere else, I'm afraid, potentially fuse box or wiring. So the last 3 or 4 times I've hooked up the main fuse, which is this one here, it's blown. So it's blowing every fuse you put in, even without the ignition on. Obviously there's something wrong big time in this wiring system at the moment, and it's something that has to be found pretty much now, because it will just keep becoming an issue. So I'm not sure. I'll pop this battery out, see if I've missed anything obvious. I don't think I have, but... And actually I went over the wiring, you know, not that long ago. The Oxford hot grips I've just taken off just for convenience, because it's a bit of a pain actually. They're both meant to go to power. Yeah, so let me just double check. Otherwise I'm probably going to pop the tank off again, see if I'm missing anything, check all of the earths, make sure all the earths are clean and earthing appropriately. You could run an earth from here to somewhere on the frame now anyway, just to make sure the earth's fine. But basically if I put a fuse in there now and connect this back up, it blows immediately. So we need to figure out why. And when the key's off, that's what makes this more interesting. It should be 2 lives or something coming together at some point and blowing it. But finding them 2 lives that are coming together and blowing it isn't going to be easy at this stage. It's back on and that's not blown, and that's a smaller fuse as well. It's a 15, it should be a 20 or 30, so that's good, that bit's fine. What I'm going to check is I'm going to bridge these together now and see if we can get the engine turning over. If we can, there's a problem with that relay. It will need a new relay, which isn't a huge issue, but more waiting around. Also make sure you bridge it with something that has rubber on the end. really not happy. I don't know now. Normally you bridge that, it fires up, it spins over, it does okay. It's almost like the engine is seized, but there's no way. We had it up and running the other day. I'm going to try and see if I can snap it into gear, wake it up a bit. So the bike started eventually by bridging these two. However, I think that is all working. I think that relay's working. I think it's probably a starting motor problem. I don't know how easy. I think it just slides out this way. I think you just unbolt it, slide it out. I'll have to check on that. The bike sounds okay itself. But what I'd like to do is... Oh, it's got no choke on. What I'd like to do is take the bike out for a quick spin and see that it runs. All the tyres are pumped now. Check the brakes, check everything else. That might loosen everything up. And then see if it starts when we get back. It took quite a lot of messing around on that to get it started, so I don't think it's that. I think it's the starting motor. So as you can see it cut out, I'm going to try and start it again using the same method. It's not overly happy on half throttle. It's not overly happy on first, third either. It does pick up eventually. To be fair, it could be low on fuel. To be fair, we only put the 5 litre in, didn't we? Yeah, there's basically none in there. Okay. I'm going to do a fuel run, top that up in case it was leaking. I don't think it was. But I think we lost loads, didn't we? As we were messing around with the tank. So I will top that back up. It was probably starving itself. In fact, I want to do that run now so that we're not messing around. What's annoying is that doesn't solve the fact that it won't turn over. And I don't think it's a relay problem. Because I can hear the relay clicking. But when you do that, that kind of does show that it also could be a relay problem. Don't know. I'll have a look at relay prices. I'll order a relay. I'll have a look at starter prices. I'll order a starter. That's all you've got for now, really. And I am going to shoot down to the petrol station and top up the tank so that we can see if this actually does run and ride properly. So I've put the whole 5 litres in, and I know that's not much, but the reason I've put the whole lot in is because you have to see if it's dripping. Why was there none in there? Now I'm sure it was I just used it up. I have no concerns there. But yeah, I want to tip it all in and keep an eye on it and make sure there's no obvious drips. You can see in there that there is fuel up to that level. And then no obvious drips. I'm going to fire it up again actually to let it sit, see if it idles a bit better, see if more fuel works better, make sure there's no problem with fueling at all. And then thinking about whether we're going to buy a new starter relay or a new starter. See, the problem is the relay could be fine or it could not. It could be kind of wrecked on the inside, but also the actual starting motor could just be so kind of rough and ready and hard to turn that actually it puts all pressure back onto the relay. So it really could be both. So if I can get both for 40 or 50 quid, then it'd be worth putting both on this bike, again because we're trying to save the bike. Sue won't mind waiting one more week to make sure the bike is safe and working properly. But let me try and idle it, see how it sits. It actually blew another fuse, it keeps doing that. So I really do think it's the starting motor, because I'm getting this bridge proper and it just freezes up. So it'd be silly and a false economy not to test it one more time and compare it to when it had no fuel. So you saw me push it back again. What's happening is the bike runs and rides fine. It ran absolutely fine. And then it cuts out abruptly, and obviously you can't fire it back up because it don't work on the button. So at the moment I'm just kind of hovering it. I've tried touching these wires. There's no way they touched anything anyway. And then I thought that these wires might be bridging and cutting it out, but they are not. So I think it needs a good run, if I'm being honest. I think it needs a good ride, a good run. I need to do something about this fuel. I don't like this fuel and being kind of pinched like that. I want it to be freer. Right. Actually, that, no, it's still kind of a bit pinched. I'm going to have to look at that. I'm not happy with that because we're, you know, that's one of the fuel lines, maybe the lower level one as well. So I might have to rerun that. I might have to run it down behind here. I'm gonna have to look at that. But otherwise, plenty power. There's definitely some holes in the exhaust. There's one down here, I can feel it, and earlier I could see the smoke. Let me see if you can see it. Let me see if. Alright, where am I looking? I have no idea. Any holes there? I don't know what you can see, but definitely a hole there. In fact, no, that's the same. That's the same hole. I need to find that, and then nothing obvious here. But I'm gonna get the file on it and just give it a bit of a brush. I'll have to patch that hole up, but I just want to run it a little bit and get it kind of warm and see if it does that abrupt cutting out, which it's not for now. It seems okay for now, but you know, it's not even too much of an issue if it's cutting out every now and again. Honestly, I think it needs a good blast and a good run. The issue is that you can't press the button and bring it back on. Even now with the old engine on, you can't hear it spinning over. That's what the issue really is. So starting motor or starting solenoid, I don't know. I took this spare one out of the GS, but it's not the right one, so I don't want to mess around with it. I'm going to let it sit for a few minutes. What I'm going to do is get the old seal buddy on the front shocks of the CAF, because I really want to get the CAF an MOT tomorrow. I've got the logbook back. If I get an MOT, I can start looking at advertising it after obviously doing some of the upgrades I really want to do. Oh, the other thing about the Kawasaki, no back brake at all. So should need adjusting, should have any yeah, there's adjustment left. Oh, there's not loads left. I'm gonna have to see if I can adjust that. There's not loads left, so we'll have to see about that. Hopefully there's enough just to get it safe and running and through an MOT for now. So Rabjev's turned up on his electric scooter. He wants to take the CAF out. I like to let people ride. What was that? Don't know, go on. Kill switch? Clutch? Start? I killed it. Alright, let me have a look. Honda CB 250 CAF racer. Side stand problem. Take 3. What he's confirmed for me is the stance of the bike needs to be lifted. Because of the rear end being so dipped, so that's good to know. And I'm going to bridge that side stand switch completely, so we're not messing around with the old switch, What the last owner's done is left the switch on and you turn it by hand. That's ridiculous. So let's just bridge the switch full time and tape it up so that there's no issues there. Here he is, in one piece. Wicked little bike. Look at his feet, look, he don't like it, look. What? What about the back brake? So basically it's got no brakes. Front brake's fine, I've used it. You're used to your brand new KTM, and this is 24 years old. So to finish off this this video, which should be on a nice new camera, should be nice and kind of HD. I've actually cleaned the exhaust up. Do you know what? The exhaust really wasn't that bad. It was surface rust, and I've got a good black paint, so I am going to put a layer of black paint on it to protect it. Otherwise, it'll just rust and rust and rust. I've ordered a new starter relay. Come on, I mean that was 20 quid. The starter motor itself is 100, and it might not be the motor that's gone anyway. So 100 quid on this bike at this stage would be pretty silly. We've bought the battery, which is fine. You have to kind of get to a stage where you think it's not worth it. So if the solenoid, the starter relay, doesn't solve the problem, we'll be thinking very carefully whether the bike's worth putting any more money into. Honestly, I'd rather find Sue a nice old Bandit or something that hasn't rotted away, because that's the kind of fact. This bike's kind of been rotting in the garden since, and it had a fault to start with. I've cleaned up the shocks, look at that, they've come up quite nice, and that I haven't put any polish on them yet. And I cleaned up the other shock, of course, and I cleaned up the exhaust, ready for some high temp paint. But I mean, it should be the starter solenoid, because every time I bridge it, it starts. That should be the problem. Of course, the problem could still be wiring coming down to the solenoid, so it could be here, it could be the connector. But a new solenoid will at least tell us if that is the issue. That will at least do that bit of investigation for us. Well worth the wait. It's going to be Tuesday or Wednesday. So Sue, if you're watching, it won't be this week, but it has to be done properly. It can't be half-assed. It has to be safe. And I'm going to try and get the CAF an MOT tomorrow, because in its kind of current basic state, I believe it's MOT-able. I don't see why not. It's got brake lights, it's got lights, it's got this, it's got that, it's got, you know, the suspension's fine. I cleaned them up. It doesn't seem to be leaking much. There's a lot of travel in them. I wonder if that's an issue. But if I can get it its basic road MOT, then I can start looking at, you know, neatening it up, really. So yeah, that's it for now. That's today's video. I've done a few hours after work, and it this kind of just shows you the process I go through on a day-to-day basis, what it takes to sort these bikes out. I've actually had a go at the guys on eBay. I bought the radiator on the 6th, and it's the 12th now, and it's still not here. And you check the tracking, and it says earliest Sunday, and that's annoying. I'm sorry, guys, but it should never take 6 days to get an item sent. And you know, I paid for it on the 6th, and they delivered it potentially on the 9th or 10th, and I just think that's not good enough. So that's wound me up. So I've had a bit of a go at them. I mean, that radiator is 100 quid, you know, guys, plus delivery on top, and that means I wait another weekend before being able to actually get this bike up and ready for sale. And more importantly, the bike sits here doing nothing. So if you're selling on eBay, be good eBay sellers as best as you can. I try and do my best. I do good prices, and I try and get them posted out as soon as I can, even though actually I have another job. It's not my main job. As always, any questions, any thoughts, feelings, theories, keep it positive. This is a positive channel. I know Nat's just had a, not a go at, but a word with someone on his channel who used to watch my channel actually, and the guy messaged Nat saying Charlie's rubbish basically, and Nat's like, well, you know, we're friends, and you've just told me my friend's rubbish at doing what he does. So basically the point is these are positive channels. I know mine's positive, I know Nat's is positive. We're about helping people out, we're about good mental health, we're about good times, and people joining us and coming and learning and doing things like that. So always keep it positive. We're always open to your genuine advice and opinions as long as it's fair.